start with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, board, you have before you the proposed agenda and then the consent agenda. Any questions on the consent agenda? No, motion to approve? Motion to approve. Moved by Ann, seconded by Pam. Second. Show of hands vote. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed, motion carries to approve the consent agenda. Non-action reports. Construction update. Dr. Robinson.
Yeah, construction, like I said, going to a little bit of a broken record because we're really just down to one project, and that's the theater. There's been a lot of concrete poured in there in the last couple weeks for the theater. In fact, I've got a kind of planned tour tomorrow to meet some of the people over there in the morning for our construction meeting, but they were running concrete trucks all day Monday as well. So I know they're trying to get us somewhat back caught up on track, and that's going to take getting the concrete done there first. I know that we've kind of, if you've had a chance to walk around in there, you've noticed a lot of boxes, all the chairs, everything is waiting for that. And like I said, it might be slightly skeleton on March 4th, but I think we'll be pretty 98% when we have our Fine Arts Festival here on March 4th. But everything's kind of coming together. Just like I said, we're in the middle of concrete and grading and doing that concrete work where all the stairs, where all the seats will go, and that's really about it. And unfortunately, we have to wait for concrete to cure and dry and do all those things. But it looks really, really nice. I think the community is going to be super, super proud of it. I know we've talked about it a little bit before, but we'll try to see if we can get something with our kiddos in there before we bring the rest of the conference in to see it. I think it's a good idea, so we'll do that.
If I could just say, I do know that everybody's anxious for it to be done. Yeah. And there have been, frustration, and at the same time, 100 years in the waiting.
Yes.
It'll and when we get it, it's going to be great.
It is. It's really, really nice. It's going to be top notch, guys. I truly believe that, and I think the community is going to be very, very proud of it.
Definitely. Any other questions, comments? Okay, administrative reports.
Celebrations. Our teacher retention grant, as you know, we use some of those funds to purchase equipment for a wellness room for our staff to use. Start of the year, kicked off with a bang. Everyone has evidently a lot of New Year's resolutions, so that's been seeing a lot of use, so that's exciting. And then also, we decided to start a Zumba class. Lisa Hart is a certified instructor, and she is a middle school special ed teacher. So there's been a lot of people showing up for that. We're offering that 3 days a week. And then we have plans to start just a walking club or some type of a group in the near future. So those are all celebrations, I think, and a great way to start the year. I included within your packets NWEA, some data from that. As we mentioned before, the winter scores usually tend to fall. I wouldn't say that's normal, but I wouldn't say that it's not normal either. So that's usually due to the fact that we're getting deeper into the curriculum and the instruction. Those students may not have received instruction on those standards if they're being asked questions on. So I do not find that alarming. I do. We just met today, administrative team. Each building is looking at those results. They're breaking those down to the standard and the student. And so we will use those. If we do see some, areas of concern, then those will be addressed either through classroom instruction or through RTI cycles that we offer within each building. Received notification today, I think before I visited with you about our A+ scholarship program. Students receive that pretty much 2 years. They can receive up to 2 years of funds towards an associate's degree or junior college. With COVID, Department of Ed actually waived one of the requirements, and that requirement was for students to score their advanced on the end of course exam. And today we received notification that that is back. So it is no longer going to be waived. So we will notify our seniors that have not met that requirement to see if they want to take those end of course exams.
That's on Algebra 1, correct? The end of course on Algebra 1.
Yes. Yep. So today also received notice that the APR, that annual performance report, as far as our MAP scores and course scores, that portion of the APR should be released embargoed, possibly by the end of this week or next week. So we will have some of that data and some of that information. And then they are projecting that it will be embargoed until March. Initially, they're going to share it with the school districts in 2 formats. One would be graphic, and then the other would just be data-wise. So hoping to pull some good information from that to be able to apply towards our instruction and kind of get some bearings and some understanding of where we're at right now. So moving forward, we can kind of address some of those concerns. We did submit prior to Christmas break our CSIP plan. We were required to upload that along with a response to standards and then a planning guide. And so we submitted that before Christmas. I do not think we will hear back from that for quite a while. That was the continuous improvement side of that APR. And so what will happen, those documents have been submitted, and it will not be our area supervisor or any area supervisors from around Northwest Missouri, but some area supervisor will pull those reports, those documents, and review those, and then that will become part of our continuous improvement score on the APR. So I do know that Nancy Greeley, when we submitted those, sent an email. She reviewed those and said they were some of the best documents she'd seen. So kudos, I appreciate the admin team. We met before Christmas break and we just kind of fine-tuned those, and so a lot of hard work went into those. So I thank them for that. So, and last but not least, every 5 years, DESI performs what's called a quality assurance visit, and bingo! Quality assurance visit is where a member from DESI, the assessment side, comes out and monitors and observes a teacher giving the grade level assessment. They selected grade level assessment, so that will be in Mr. Stickles' building, so which will not be a big deal. All his teachers do a great job, that they will just come in and they will do that and just observe and follow the reports.
When is that?
We'll have to schedule it. We haven't fine-tuned the actual testing schedule. So once we fine-tune that, then we will send that to DESI, and then they will select from that list.
Well, you could take them for a run.
Yeah, you could go for a run or
So,
wear them out.
so, any questions?
Yeah, the Learning Blade
Oh, yeah.
portion, where, do we have anyone interested? Is it too early to know?
Right now, we're just at like webinar, and like I said, that would not, take away anything, but it would be an additional resource that teachers could use. It's project-based, and we're wanting to move towards project-based, more towards that, so.
It sounds like it could be pretty beneficial, but,
Excellent resource, so,
okay.
yeah.
I have a question about the NWEA data on the algebra. 11th grade is concerning.
Well,
Or am I reading that wrong? I could be reading that wrong.
Algebra 1 at the 11th grade level, those are students that we've not placed in Algebra 1 their freshman or sophomore year just due to the difficulty of the curriculum. They may be a special ed student, they may be a student that just struggles academically, and so we wait until the very end, and that's a smaller number of students. So.
I didn't have a question, but I talked to you about NWEA. I did some deep dives into this to compare not only where we were last year, but then also the fall, which led you to send me some information. But I wanted us to congratulate, and you can, I think it's a congratulation, the 5th grade teachers. In math, reading, and science, the 5th grade teachers saw huge increases from 2021 from last year to this year. And so I wanted to congratulate the fifth grade teachers. I don't know if there's something that you've been in communication with them. You know, did they change anything? Is there any things that they can share? You know, so anyway, I just wanted to make notice of the fifth grade teachers and see if there was, you know, anything else that they could share that they've changed. So.
Yeah, we try, sorry, no, go ahead. We do try to celebrate those things, yeah, anytime we see growth, not only with the teachers, but with the students as well, you know, to encourage them to stay engaged and stay motivated, so, yeah.
And it might be the different classes. It might be, you know, the different group of kids. Because I think the fifth grade teachers have been pretty much the same last year to this year, I think. So I just wanted to point that out and say congratulations to them.
Anything else? All right, thank you. Mr. Erdman is not here. Any questions that we need addressed? I would just comment, I was delighted to see the high school activities report and so many of the sponsors reported this month that I liked reading those and getting those updates. So encourage them and thank them and encourage them to continue with that.
I'd like to see some data points on those, like how many kids are involved and, you know, when they have honors that are recognized, you know, include those as well, because I think those are important things to understand about the programs.
And congratulations for our wrestling boys and girls tonight that are being honored.
Yes.
Seniors.
Okay, middle school.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I got a lot of little stuff here today. So, Reagan McKinley informed me that during first semester, our CVMS students have read 66,147,191 words from our library. The eighth grade, surprisingly, is they are commandingly in the lead with 27 million of those. So I thought that was a pretty neat statistic that she tracks. We had our winter dance on Saturday, which went well. We had nearly 200 students there, so over half of our student body came, which I was really pleased with that as well. Our Seven Habits team did a lot of things to get ready and get going, and we had a lot of help from some teachers as well that chaperoned and helped us that evening, so that went really well. A couple other items. We had a total, first semester total of 688 positive referrals or contacts first semester, and our discipline referrals are down 25% from last semester at this time. So that was something that we were real proud of. We did, you know, something I do want to give a shout out to Mr. Fisher. Something that he did all on his own, broke down when we were seeing the most of our referrals and our issues, and we're starting to, I think that's in my growth mindset there in my board report, but we're starting to come up with a plan and do some different things in the afternoons to try to counteract some of that. So we're excited to see how that works out. Academic team had their tryouts. I think they have 10 or 15 students that are doing that, and I think so there'll be enough for 2 teams, and they're working hard at that. And then we're starting our tutoring next week on the 23rd. And there's one other thing I was going to say. Where's it at? Oh, I did attend Zumba last Thursday.
Nice.
I would go back this week, but I'm going to Tulsa for a race, so I'm taking this week off of Zumba. But I am going to go next week at least one day. It was very fun. I learned that my hands don't really. I got to figure out how to move my hands for the dance. But it was fun, and for working out as much as I do, I was sore afterwards, so I knew it was good for me, so I got to go back. Mrs. Arndt does a great job with that, and there were 20 or 30 people there, so they made me be in the front, though, which was
Does that take place up in the?
That's CIS. We go to CIS
Okay.
in the gym, so it was a good time. It was fun. So. That's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Ms. Cox.
I first want to say that we had a lot of comments, appreciated the nice long Christmas break. Kids and teachers came back rejuvenated, refreshed, and hit the ground running, and it seems like we're off to a good start this semester. We had our photography company, Wagner, come in today and do candid shots throughout the building. The kids were being quite the hams at lunchtime. I saw her, she was going to classrooms and in the specials rooms, and they seem to enjoy having a little extra camera attention today. So that'll be fun. From what I understand, that's the first time you've had someone else come in to do that. So I don't know, I mean, just what I saw on the lunch shifts, she's got to have a million pictures to have to go through when she gets home today, because she was taking a lot, every table. So, when we came back on January 9th for our in-service day, I want to let you know we had another very productive, very positive in-service training from Kansas City RPDC in ELA. She has been phenomenal. Our teachers, every time she leaves, they feel like they're really getting something worthwhile that they can take to their classrooms and use, and are anxious for her to come back the next time. So we are talking about next year's PD, getting some things planned, and they definitely would like to have her continue with that training. So that's been very successful. And then we also spent, outside of that few hours that she was training, it was a good work day on curriculum documents, trying to get their scope and sequences were all done last year, and some of those unit planning were done before, so now they're moving ahead, and they have all of first semester, every unit completed in the new template that was adopted last year, with attachments of the resources they're using. So it's very usable curriculum that is also easy to adjust as needed. So they've had a lot of good time to work on that on the night. So it was a good productive day. We're ready for kids the next day. So. Any questions on that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If I could just tag team real quickly on her comment about break.
Yeah.
One of the things that seems so positive about that is that everybody, I know we push to get all the time in before Christmas, and so that helps. And then that extra time after the holiday, it just seems like it really gives people a chance to have, maybe they have some new good habits. They really, those things can take root, and I heard nothing but great comments about the way
I
break
would say
was
this is
handled.
probably the third year we've probably extended the break like this, and yeah, I think it's one of the things I don't know that I know when we do our survey, so it's pretty abundantly clear in the survey that they like going a little longer first semester and then have that bigger break second semester. I mean, I know we were in school, we weren't in school for another 5-6 days after some schools were already back, but yet, I think the trade-off is that, and I gave you my theory on that is, I think everybody gets together, they all get sick, and then they have time to recover before they all come back to school, so. It works out well for everybody.
Okay, Ms. Ormsby.
I wanted to point out on my data summary, if you had a chance to look at that, I'm proud of my teachers and how hard they are working. I know we look at a lot of this and there's always room for improvement, but I will say, coming back from COVID and just all the struggles, that we have done a great job of overcoming that. Specifically, the box in blue on the first NWEA winter score charts, you can see the students that are at or above national norms. And I think those numbers are very indicative of how hard the students and staff are working, and just want to recognize them for all their efforts and show there that we are above national norms in all areas at all grade levels. So that's something to definitely recognize. In light of that, we do have students that have plenty of room to grow, so we've invited 49 students for tutoring services. We actually started tutoring the week that we came back from break, and we have 29 students that have responded, or families have responded to that. So that is another challenge that we are working on, is impressing upon families that when we identify those students. This is invitation only, so we have the data that shows that these students definitely need to be at school working on these deficient areas and trying to get them as additional 20 in there so we can help them get caught up. So we will continue to work on that. My celebration for this evening, I did want to second what Tony was saying about Julie Stevenson. She's our ELA specialist from Kansas City RPDC. She's just absolutely wonderful. I agree with her wholeheartedly. One really interesting thing that she shared with us at our in-service last Monday was the fact that some of our children at Parkview age are not developing the speech skills that they need. And she said, I wonder if you could identify why that might be. And of course, everyone instantly thought of masks. And she said, actually, you're wrong. She said, not to say that that couldn't have been an influence, but she said that the convenience that we are enjoying with prepackaged foods, such as applesauce, where you have like the built-in straw feature, or anything like that where children are sucking the food instead of chewing, that we need to be cognizant of that and go back to old school ways where we're eating fresh fruits and vegetables where they are hard and the children have to chomp and chew because we're not actually building the muscles in our face and our tongue that we need to be able to speak and pronounce words and sounds properly. So I thought that was something really interesting. It really perked me up. Like, ooh, I haven't thought of that. So just want to share that tonight in case you have any littles in your family. We can pass that on, kind of pass on those things and go the old school route and chop your stuff up the old way, and it really helps your child develop the skills that they need. I also had another celebration that I wanted to share. Been working a lot on our last recommendation from Carolyn Hall, who is our trauma-informed specialist. We've reached a point at Parkview where, with our trauma initiative, where we've kind of come full circle, and she said it's really time for you to get out there and share your message, share your journey. And I told you a few months back that she had actually invited us to come to her cohort that she holds in St. Joe. We're going later this week to present Parkview's journey and the trauma initiative. And I was going through some went all the way back, 9 years worth of data, and just looking at where we were at when I first came on board and where we're at now. And then whenever I started as principal, the data that I collected, we had 984 minor behavior incidents reported at the end of the 2016-17 school year, and at the end of last school year we were 223, which is a reduction in 761 incidents during the school year. So I think sometimes we get so caught up in the things that we're doing right that we forget to go back and look at how far we've come. So that's a huge celebration for everyone that has helped us implement PBIS, restorative practices, the trauma-informed initiative, moving our guidance class to specials rotation. All of those things have been a part of that journey, and I'm just really proud of how far we've come, and wanted to share that with you this evening.
That's great, thank you.
Do you have any other questions about?
I just was noticing the data, and I love this data format because it really shows the work you guys are doing, and I think data points are very helpful when we're looking at this. So I would encourage, more data. The more data points you guys can give us, the better. But I think the first grade teachers, when you look at sight word improvement from intervention to proficient, and also first grade STAR assessments, show a lot of really good work going on right there. So
They're amazing.
yeah, really nice to see that in the numbers.
They annually pick that up and take off running with it. So super proud of them.
I appreciate the math talk.
Oh, good. Did you like that?
I
was hoping
It was really interesting.
I watched that video too.
Well, I talked about that before, and I thought, right, you need to, me to give you one, but I'll show you a video instead. It's neat. They're doing great things with that. So, and that also came from Kansas City RPDC.
Oh,
It's been good. Good, fresh information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wonderful, thank you.
celebration, I found out this afternoon that our kitchen is officially done.
Yay!
So we can officially start using that. And we will share pictures and videos of that with you guys. But so that's my big celebration. We are excited. There's a little bit of a delay in pouring the countertop, but got it all done, and so we're super excited to use that. And then I put in some Special Olympics dates. I'm not sure if I shared with you guys. We have basketball coming up. I know I shared that. We've shared the track meet, but we're also doing a job Olympics. So it's not just the sport activities or the extracurricular activities. We're doing one that's more academic based and job skill based. And so those dates have officially been set. So our kids are practicing those things right now. And now that the mats are out of CIS gym, I know we're using that gym to start practicing the basketball. The kids have really enjoyed that. So last year, well, the last 2 years, basketball has been canceled for Special Olympics. And so we're fingers crossed that nothing will come up since Plattsburgh is hosting that. Our kids will get to participate. It's a little different setup. We don't just go right in and play games. There'll be a skills camp in the morning, and then they'll play other teams in the afternoon. So the kids are getting pumped up about that.
How many students will participate in that?
We have 16 students that are participating. And we are doing that during the school day. So a lot of the Special Olympics events are on the weekends, and so kids will come to practices after school, but then their parents aren't always able to bring them on a Saturday, or they don't show up. We did have 11 participate in bowling, but we've started doing some of these activities during the school day because we've seen that we can get the kids there, and we have the staff to support that, where sometimes parents aren't able to take off work, or because of siblings they're not able to get there. So I think we've seen an increase of kids wanting to do it as well. So.
Are we able to celebrate those athletes, like in some of the pep assemblies at some of the buildings or something?
It depends. So some of the students really need the structure and don't do well with a lot of noise or attention. And so we have, we've done little things to support. I know we had a couple of students come here last year. Was it last year that we did the board? We had only 2 students show up. A lot of our students that qualify for Special Olympics just don't do well with new settings. But we, last year, the high school did the band played as they went out. Only 2 students participated in that, which they loved it, but the other students, it was too overwhelming. So we just kind of take it year by year and kind of how the kids are feeling, instead of forcing that and ruining a day. Because it can really set off their day.
Yeah.
Simple things like a bus change or change in schedule can throw them off. So, yeah. But we do lots of celebrations in the classroom. So we've had pizza parties after events, or we've had snack day after they do something to celebrate with their group. So, yeah. Questions? No?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, maintenance technology reports. I hope we convey to Mr. Grassley and the maintenance staff our appreciation for the extra, especially with the construction ongoing. What they do is monumental.
We had talked about doing a third-party tech audit at some point. Are we still working on that?
We are.
To do that.
We are still looking at it. And then one of the pieces is that we were looking at was Midwest Computech was going to be able to do an audit by looking I'm not sure. They were going to take one of our IP addresses and kind of come through a door and look through our system and see what was vulnerable, all that. Music, who is Missouri United School Insurance, all that. They've now contracted with Midwest Computech, so we're in a waiting game on that. Because now, as part of the, they're coming out with a lot of new requirements, music is, by July 1st for tech, that we have to follow, or else, I want to say, I just had the administrator that was talking to him on Friday about some whatever changes we're going to have to look at possibly, but their deductible will go to $50,000 for a ransomware if we're not following much more strict standards. A lot of it, I think we're in pretty good compliance with, but I think there's gonna have to be some. It's one of the things we've actually talked about with administration, because we've talked a lot about what to do with phones and high school and all this. And one of the things music is recommending is 2-point authentication. So that's fine for all of our staff. They can log in, they're gonna get some text, and then they'll log in. But if that means that kids can have to do that every hour and have their phone for a minute or two, then get their authentication, and then put up their phone because we don't allow them. So I think there's some issues that we're trying to figure out with that, because I think we're gonna have to go to a 2-point authentication of some kind like that. Something, whether it's 2-point or it's something else, but we're trying to figure out how we're going to do that within our own policies.
Yeah.
And it could be that right now, the system really works where, this computer stays in this room, and each kid comes in, they log in. It might be now that that computer is, your computer or Stacy's computer, and then we don't have to do it all day. And the authentication would already be there. So I think we're looking at some options on what we're going to have to do with that. So yes.
And we talked about any kind of social engineering, because most of those will come through someone sending a phishing email to the teacher.
Well, we've talked about that too with K12. They already do a program, and Felicia was looking into that. We just met Friday morning. So we're looking into some programs to do something like a phishing program. I shared with the admin team, we already had that happen once to one of our staff members this year. And so, it can happen to anybody. And so, yeah, I hate to say trying to catch people, but as we talked about in July, it is. It's about trying to let people know that these things happen, and they can sound very, very convincing on what you need to do. So, yeah.
So what's the timeline on getting that done?
I would say that's probably before the end of the year type deal on the other. I don't know that I have a date yet on
End of the school year.
End of the school year, yeah. I don't know that I have a date on when the Midwest Computech is gonna be doing the backdoor or whatever you wanna call that, piece into that.
If we can move that up before the next 4 months, that would be good, because
Okay.
things are going on now.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
schools are getting hit a lot, I would agree 100%, so, yeah.
Dr. Robinson, I'm looking at the technology report, and it
Yes.
says new speakers installed at CHS. What kind of speakers are those? Are they computer speakers?
No, I'm not sure exactly which
Okay.
speakers those are
Okay,
referring to.
I just was looking for specifics.
Well, I know that we did some new speakers. I don't know if you've been in the schools, you see the little boxes hanging down, it's got the clocks and all that. I do know that, and that might be it, I'm trying to think, we might have did some of those, because I think we added 1 and 2 where like the vocational center, like we had classrooms, fax classroom, and all of that. And I want to say we did maybe just an extra speaker into the shop area of the ag. I'm not sure if that's what she's referring to or not, but I know we were looking at adding a couple like that, because I think we did those a couple years ago when we were waiting on effectively the construction to get done here to add some, so I would assume that's what she's referring to.
Is a dumb question, I'm sure, but the new wrestling area used to be ag.
Mhm.
Does the all-call goes out to that?
I think we have the speaker. I don't know if the speaker is installed yet, because we haven't got all the wires ran for the new office and all of that. But we had a speaker, because it was only a couple years old.
Okay.
Because we upgraded it, because before they just had the old box on the wall and it didn't work. So we put a new speaker in that, I want to say 2, maybe 3 years ago. So I know we took that off, and that will come back, but we don't have any of the wiring for any of the new office, so
Okay.
that area does not have anything right now. So the only time that actually is getting used, though, is after school, so.
Right. That is something, though, that we are prioritizing.
Oh, yeah.
Something out there.
Yeah.
I worry, don't worry, but, that's not a very secure.
Yeah,
area.
although most times that people are in there, we're not gonna have anybody in the offices either,
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
so, because that's
Is
usually
there-
after school, so besides maybe that
Right,
half hour, 45 minutes after school, you might have some people in there, but after that,
right,
there wouldn't be anybody in the office either, so.
right.
Any other questions on maintenance or technology? Okay, moving on to our communications. Mr. Gilbert had requested to have some time to address transparency and accountability I don't see him here this evening, so any other citizen, teacher, or student have communications they would like to relay to the board regarding items for consideration on our agenda? If not, then that's what we'll move to next, items for consideration. We have a need to approve some retirements and resignations.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Andy seconded, Ann made the motion. Discussion? Those in favor, raise your right hand. I reluctantly raise mine, Ms. Cox.
Appreciate what you've done.
Motion carries.
Yes, thank you.
And we do appreciate all of your efforts this year, and wish you the best in your next retirement.
2.0.
Okay, then we have personnel to hire. We have Paris.
Yes, we have a couple
Two
paraprofessionals, 2 paraprofessionals.
Motion
Move to hire.
moved by Stacy, seconded by.
Second.
Was it? Did I get it wrong? It was Jackie. Okay, moved by Jackie, seconded by Pam to approve the recommendation for personnel to hire. Discussion. All in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed, the motion carries. Then substitutes. We have some recommendations for substitutes.
Move higher. Second.
Move to hire. I did. Stacy made the motion and seconded the motion. Discussion. Those in favor, raise your right hand. And those opposed. Motion carries. Now, hazard mitigation plan.
Yeah, I'll give a brief synopsis, but actually, if you have more technical questions, Mr. Roberts over there, Houston Roberts, should be able to answer us from Mocan. But effectively, we redo this plan every 5 years. In fact, we were out in the hallway talking about how many board members were on here. Actually, last time we would have approved the hazard mitigation plan. Kind of the long story short, if there was a federal disaster or something like that, this allows us to access those federal funds so that we could fix up a building or do whatever we need to do to continue school. So I know there's a lot of jurisdictions that are a part of this, and if you have any more you want to add to that you're more than welcome. So
sure. Do you want me to? I can just
please,
Karen, address the. Okay. Yeah. So, like Dr. Robinson said, basically the hazard mitigation plan is something every county in the state of Missouri has one. Number one is it's a document that helps the state emergency management agency and the federal emergency management agency determine, if there is a natural disaster, if they're in the air, natural disaster, and there's a federal declaration, it opens up funding for projects that are outlined in your hazard mitigation plan. It is updated every 5 years, and the idea also with that is it's kind of a guiding document for your community, whether that's the city of Cameron, who they're a participant, or whether it's just Cameron R1 right here, trying to determine where you want to see yourself in the next 5 years as far as projects you want to focus on. While it is updated every 5 years, it is also something that jurisdictions can basically, and they're encouraged to take a look at basically every year to kind of see where are we at on this project that we've kind of outlined here. Is there any more information that we need to add to that in case like federal funding does open up. So like for example, one of the items that your school district has, which like most school districts have, is like an emergency generator in case you want to use a school facility or a building as a response area for like a natural disaster or something like that. And trying to determine is there more information that you need to make that an actualized goal, things like that. But yeah, those are the two things it is overall. Kind of helps you unlock those funds, and also kind of helps you kind of see how do these hazards affect us, and what can we be doing to prepare for them. So.
thank you.
So this backup generators, is that something that we would use those funds for? Is that something we need to have in place before we can sign that? I mean, I'm just looking at this action.
Right. So it's something you'd use those funds for. So ideally, you kind of want to know, so like in your example, what building would you use that in? Kind of like a quote, like how much would that cost? You want to have kind of like some of that kind of groundwork so that as soon as the funds become available,
it's a pretty quick turnaround in terms of how that grant application works. SEMA invites the jurisdiction to apply for the grant. You basically have about 2 months to put kind of a preliminary application together. It doesn't have to go into a lot of detail, but they'll want to know at the very least, like, how much is your item going to cost? And then from there, they take it, they review it, and if you're invited to apply for the actual grant, that's kind of where it gets into the more nitty gritty, and that can take about 3 to 4 months to kind of get everything together there.
And this is before a potential hazard happens, or after?
So that,
that's right.
So the main thing you kind of want to know, basically, in terms of like if you're trying to get like equipment, you want to get an idea of like how much that's going to cost, and if it's something like a generator, where you would want that station, like what building you would want that in. So those very basic things is what you want to figure out, and then if there's a natural disaster and funding becomes available, then you can apply for a grant to get that funding for that project.
So it's kind of both, Stacy.
After the fact.
Yeah.
So
When I was at Worth County, they had went through, as superintendent, we were actually finishing up this last part of it, but in, I believe, 06, 07, they had went through a huge ice storm that went through Worth County. And they had half their county that still didn't have power after 2 weeks. So they were still powerless. So after that, the school, we purchased a new generator. We had electricians, we got a grant to go through and do all that. So we purchased a giant generator, set outside our gym, and then we figured out a way that we could get just enough electricity that could come from the generator to power our kitchen, cafeteria, and the gym, so that they could have, like, if we had another natural disaster like that they could come, people could go down to locker rooms and shower, we could give them food. In fact, one of the years, I remember it was Christmas Eve, lights all go out, I think it was 09, we had like 10, 12 inches of snow. So none of the power was on. I get a call at like 11 o'clock at night that tomorrow, Christmas Day, I've got to meet the Red Cross up. We're setting up cots. And I'm thinking, don't people have families on Christmas they can go to? I really don't want to stand in the gym. I'll be honest, on Christmas Day in Worth County. So, but that was one of the things we did with the project. Now, in the 3 years I was at Worth County, we never actually ended up having to use it. The lights came on at 9 o'clock the next morning. So, but that's something we could use. I think kind of this preps the case too for like doing a storm shelter.
Yeah. So that's another example that a lot of districts apply for.
Yeah. So I know there's a lot of gyms or a lot of schools that use this opportunity to go after a storm shelter and use it for an auxiliary gym. And that could be something. I know Lawson's done it once. I mean a lot of other districts. I believe Mid-Buchanan's doing it right now. So there's quite a few that have done it. So
you get that data ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then if or when the disaster occurs, then you're ready, and it expedites the application approval process.
So we've identified that backup generators might be a weakness of ours. Is that what we're saying? We've identified that that's a weakness of ours, and that's where we would use this money should it ever. So what is grade school disaster preparedness?
So that's something like a lot of districts usually have that as like a very basic action item. That's basically saying that we want to continue to inform like our students like across K through 12 about what to do in types of different natural disasters, whether that's like tornado drills at school, or if they're talking to them about inviting like the fire department in to talk to them about what do you do if there's a fire at home. A lot of districts typically use that as something that they want to continue to have as an ongoing action. So sometimes these things are like weaknesses where it's just kind of like, we really need to have a generator, and sometimes there are things that they're kind of like, okay, what are things that we need to make sure that we continue to do as well.
Does the city have a mobile generator of any sort, or?
I don't know if the city does, honestly. So
Do we have a contract with any kind of, there are companies you can contract with that'll come
I
in
don't
and they'll
know.
set up trailers and generator and all sorts of stuff?
We do not have any contracts with any
Because you
company
can
like
you
that.
contract with them ahead of time, so you pull the trigger and then they
Yeah.
need to come in and they do.
We've never had that, and honestly, I don't think I know some of our churches and stuff, like we were designated, like our school, Worth County was a designated warming area. So if electricity went out or, got too low, we could open up our school. Like I said, we only had that 1 year we thought it was gonna happen. We got very lucky. But I think we actually have churches in this community that are already part of that list. Like, I think when we had our last cold snap, they were telling people what churches you could go to, and we're not a part of those, so. Yeah. Which is nice that there's other, we were probably only in the biggest structure in the community of Worth County, so. In the school, community like Cameron, where you've got other churches and other places, there's a lot more opportunities.
And I can give you a more recent example of not necessarily a school district, but like, going through the actual grant process, what that's looked like. So Clinton County, like the county commission, knew that they wanted storm sirens for a lot of rural areas throughout the county. And they had an action item that said, we want some more rural storm sirens. So one of the things they wanted to make sure, kind of what we're talking about, like that preliminary homework, was trying to figure out, like, where would we want those sirens, and trying to figure out, like, how much would they cost. And then so back in, I think 2021, when there was a federal declaration regarding kind of flooding for parts of Clinton County, that opened up funding, and so they were able to then take that information that they had and then go out and apply for a grant to get funding for storm sirens for the county. So, yeah.
Okay. Do we have a resolution number? We have the resolution in front of us, but no resolution number.
I don't know that we have a number. Do we have a number on there?
I don't think so. They're just kind of, it's just a basic resolution.
Okay.
You can give it any number you want.
Well, it's just blank there, and I
Yeah,
don't know if
sure.
you, okay.
No.
So then, I would entertain a motion to approve a resolution for the Cameron R1 School District to adopt the Clinton County Multi-Jurisdictional Hazard Mitigation Plan.
So moved.
I'm not gonna repeat that motion, I just know that Stacy made it and Andy seconded the motion. Any discussion on approval of the hazard mitigation plan? If not, all in favor, raise your right hand. And those opposed, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, resolution opposing legislation regarding open enrollment. We talked about this a little bit last month. We have had that to review. Mayor, the Missouri Association of Rural Education, has asked that member school districts adopt that resolution in support of that. And it is incumbent that districts do it now because it is being debated as an item of legislation in the Senate right now.
I thought it was
House. Okay, House. I don't know the House bill exactly, but anyway, it is being, in committee and will be moving forward.
Yeah, the committee chairman is the one that sponsored the bill, so it's going to make its way out of committee. It's going to get out of committee.
Motion to approve the resolution opposing.
Jackie, seconded by Pam, to adopt the resolution opposing legislation regarding open enrollment. Any discussion on the motion?
I'll throw it in on that.
No discussion. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. And those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Board member comments? Anyone? Jackie?
In terms of legislation, just so you all know, Governor Parson is supposed to speak tomorrow at the State of the State address at 3 o'clock in the afternoon if you don't have anything else going on. Also, the legislative spring break is March 13th through the 17th. And I'd like to throw out that maybe we invite our state rep to District 9 to come in, maybe take a tour of the new facilities perhaps, and throw that out there, maybe we could do that.
Just while your thoughts there, I have invited Senator Hoskins, Senator Black, Representative Boyd from Caldwell, and then
Dean Van Schwick.
Yeah.
Van Schwick.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. And I've invited those 4 people to address our retired teacher group on the 17th, on Friday. I'm going to double check that date.
Yeah, Friday is the 17th of March.
Friday the 17th. And so I love your idea. If they're in town, addressing our group at 9:30, maybe after that, I could extend them another invitation to say, hey, on behalf of the school district, come on over.
They could be at our St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. Jack, I didn't mean to jump in there, but I know that have been invited to be here the 17th. I haven't gotten replies as to whether they would be here or not. But
I also wanted to just give a shout out to Ministerial Alliance for the Backpack Buddies program that they have going out. I just think that's great for our students, so thank you to them. And then I also, this is probably under Jason Erdman's section here, but from what I understand, Rachel Barlow and her husband brought to Chris Eckert's attention that there was a grant from CNH here within Cameron for $25,000 to go towards a STEM program. And from what I understand, Chris Eckert applied for that and got the grant. And so that's wonderful news for our district. And he said that $25,000 would go to update the 3D printing capabilities, new monitors for the lab, and additional screens. So just congratulations on that, and thank you to the Barlows and to Chris Eckert for taking the initiative on that.
any other board member input? Remind you, February 6th at 6 o'clock at CBMS, our work session, every other month work session. Primary focus will be on our communications plan.
Communication plans and then the DESI surveys that were sent out to parents late October, early November. I did have one other thing. MSBA will not be doing, or they will be doing a spring meeting, but it will be a virtual. They will not be hosting a virtual meeting or a meeting, so that'll be a virtual meeting. So I don't know if we'll have one place and we'll meet, or if everybody will just have to log on. I'm not sure what that looks like yet.
Regional meeting?
That's going to be the regional meeting. Is just a one-time meeting. And I know in the past they've changed it, and then now with they're going to go back to a fall meeting, and that will be their only meeting. So they're going to have a fall meeting, and then the annual meeting, and then they won't have anything again in the spring. So next year it changes again, but
that's a membership request.
Yeah. So they're going to. But this year it'll just be a virtual meeting. So I think last year we all went over to Stewartsville, and in the past we've hosted and did different things, but it'll just be virtual.
Is there a legislative session coming up in March, probably?
Yeah, usually February or March. I can't remember when it is.
Yeah, late February, early March.
But yeah, there is.
Okay, anything else? If not, thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. Meeting's